Milton Hershey went bankrupt twice before he turned 30. If you had pulled his file back then, you would have closed it and moved on to the next candidate. So he started his first candy company in Philadelphia in his late teens, using an apprenticeship he had served as a boy under a local confectioner. It failed within a few years. He started a second one in Chicago, certain the bigger city would fix what the first one lacked. That failed too. He tried again in Denver, then New Orleans, then New York. Each time, the pattern repeated: early excitement, some traction, then the capital ran out before the business could find its footing. By his late 20s, Milton Hershey was not just broke. He was in debt to nearly every relative, family, friend, and local banker who had ever taken a chance on him. His own father had already built a reputation as a man full of ideas that never worked. And by this point, people were starting to say the same thing about the son. Family gatherings became something to dread. Every uncle had an opinion. Every conversation eventually circled back to the same unspoken question. When was he going to stop? He went back to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and started again, this time on caramel, using fresh milk in the recipe instead of the paraffin most competitors used at the time. That single technical difference is what finally made the product stand out. The company worked. He sold it in 1900 for a sum that would be worth well over $100 million today. Then, instead of retiring on that win, the way almost anyone else would have, he took nearly all of it and built a chocolate company nobody had asked him to build in a small town that did not yet exist. Because he believed milk chocolate could be made affordable for ordinary people, not just the wealthy who could previously afford imported European chocolate. That company became Hershey. He built housing, schools, and a trolley system around the factory for his own workers. The town still carries his name, and so does a company that now does billions of dollars in revenue a year. Here is what nobody puts in the highlight reel version of this story. For every single year of those repeated failures, Milton Hershey was not just losing money. He was living every single day with the exact fear most business owners carry quietly and never say out loud in front of their team. The fear of being seen as someone who cannot provide. Not the fear of the number on a page, the fear of what that number says about you, to your family, to the people who lent you money because they believed in you, to your own private sense of whether you are actually capable of doing the one thing you promised yourself and everyone else that you would do. And here is the controversial part. That fear is not something you should be trying to eliminate. It is fuel. It is one of the most powerful engines a human being can run on. The problem was never the fear itself. The problem is what happens when that fear is allowed to sit in the driver's seat instead of quietly powering the engine from underneath the hood. A car with a stuck accelerator and no working brakes does not need less fuel. It needs someone who actually knows how to steer. That fear does something specific and measurable to decision-making. It pushes toward one of two extremes, almost never toward the calm middle ground everyone assumes is available. Either you freeze completely, refusing the next risk because one more failure feels unbearable to your identity, not just your bank account, or you swing recklessly in the opposite direction, chasing the next deal too fast, saying yes to clients you should decline, trying to prove something to an audience that, if you are honest, stopped watching this closely years ago. So here's the uncomfortable question worth sitting with tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. When you look at your latest numbers and feel that familiar tightness in your chest, are you actually looking at a business problem? Or are you replaying a much older conversation with a parent who doubted you, a sibling who succeeded more easily, a banker who once said no? Most executives will not answer that question honestly, even to themselves. The ones who finally tend to make noticeably better decisions within weeks, not years. Your brain does not file business failures under finance. It files it under identity and social survival, the same category your ancestors used for being cast out of the tribe that kept them fed and protected. That is why a single bad quarter can wreck your sleep far more than the actual dollar amount logically justifies, and why some founders describe a rejected deal in almost the same language they would use to describe a physical threat. It's not the money doing that to your nervous system. It's the story your brain has quietly attached to what the money means about your worth as a provider, a parent, a partner, a leader. This is exactly the pattern we look for on a 3R strategy call. The specific moment where fear of being seen as a failure has quietly taken over the steering wheel instead of staying where it belongs, in the engine. If any of part of this story felt a little too familiar tonight, that discomfort is information, not something to push down with another 16-hour day. Book a call, strategy call, free. Link is somewhere below.